Hi folks, how you doing? This is Iqbal with NVIDIA Daily Analysis. So today was another good day for NVIDIA stockholders. NVIDIA went up about 4%. In this video, let's try to find out how NVIDIA can behave rest of the week using technical charts and data analysis. Starting with the daily summary, Nvidia opened at 106.32. It made a high 111.07. It made a low 106.26 and it closed at 109.02. That is 4.08% up. So two positive closings in a row. That's a good sign. But we cannot jump to conclusion that Nvidia uptrend is back. It might be a bull trap, you never know. Unless Nvidia goes up above 120 level, there is still a chance Nvidia can pull back. But again, I would say kudos for those who bought Nvidia shares below 100 level. If you remember last week multiple times I mentioned that below 100 was a good buy for Nvidia. And if you remember, I said on Friday and also on Thursday that based on my understanding, Nvidia should touch 115 before the earnings. That is 2 weeks from now. So far, Nvidia is going in that direction. Moving on, last 5 days, Nvidia is still up 4.98%. Last 1 month, Nvidia down 15.6%. And last 6 months, 50.89% up. So Nvidia did about 40 or 45% correction from the all-time high. That was 141 or 142. Let's take a look forward P for Nvidia. At this point, Nvidia's forward P is at 38.09, slightly higher than the last week closing. Palantir 86.41, lower than the last week closing. Palantir went down today. SMCI 17.02, comparatively higher than the last week closing, and also AMD 38.21, also slightly higher than the last week closing. Let's take a look at my previous price projections for SMCI that I showed you last week. So if you remember early last week, I presented this chart and I provided these two as the minimum and the maximum price projections before the next earnings. It still looks to me that a good price levels, SMCI was not able to go further down. It came down to around 480, but it did not go below 464. So far so good. On the higher side, I am hoping that Nvidia should touch 900 before the next earnings. So at this point, I have SMCI and Nvidia stocks, as I mentioned to you last week and also before last week. I'm still holding it. I do not have any plan to sell it at this point because I think that Nvidia should be back around 115 or 120 before the earnings, and SMCI probably might take a longer time to come back to 800. Now let's take a look historical data analysis for Nvidia. You see Nvidia cumulative percentage change for this quarter. At this point, Nvidia is still up 18% from the last earnings announcement. In the last quarter, as we noted last week and before last week, the third month after earnings historically has been good, and Nvidia showed some positive momentum. In the last quarter, Nvidia was up about 38% from the previous earning that was announced on 22nd February. So this quarter, we are at 18% right now, but I'm hoping that in next 2 weeks it can further go up to about 25% at least, in my understanding or opinion. Now let's take a look technical charts. You see 90-day hourly interval chart on your screen for Nvidia and also Bollinger Bands, the upper band and the lower band and the middle line. That's a blue line. So at this point, you see that Nvidia chart is about to touch the upper band, and that shows that the positive momentum is still with Nvidia. You know, so we had seen some downward movement early last week and before that, and we saw the stairs pattern. But the good thing is, it did not go further down from here. After touching the lower band sometime here, it got some momentum and now it's trying to gain further momentum to go further up. So, as you remember, tomorrow and day after tomorrow are very important because we're gonna get PPI and the CPI data, and that would tell how the inflation is going. So it's possible that tomorrow Nvidia shows some volatility before the CPI data announcement on Wednesday before market opens. Now let's take a look Fibonacci levels. You see Fibonacci levels on your screen based on the Fibonacci retracements. As we noted last week that the next level of support was 89 and Nvidia did not go to break this level. And that was my expectation that Nvidia should not break 89 level because based on my calculations, this level was very strong. And I had put my stop loss around 88 and 89. On the higher side, the next level of support was 100.64. Still, Nvidia is trading above this level. 108.26 was a resistance level. Nvidia at this point is moving around this level. And after that is 115. So I'm guessing in next few days Nvidia should be moving between 115 and 100. And it will be interesting to see if Nvidia can break 115 in next few days. And it is quite possible based on the CPI data. So if the inflation goes down more than the expectation, and probably it would be a good sign and market might show a positive momentum, including Nvidia. You see some news regarding Nvidia and overall market on your screen. Starting with this one that says US stocks trim gains as Iran moves attack on Israel, gold, oil rally. So far, there is no attack, but people again started talking about the attack may come anytime soon. That's again unpredictable variable. So if that happens, probably won't be a good news for the stock market. And if you can notice that in the morning S&P was doing good, but sometime in the afternoon it got some negative momentum. Let's take a look. See in the morning time before noon was trading higher, in afternoon it lost momentum. Some negative momentum came back. So it closed around 0.0043% up, but not much. Okay, now this one that says that Nvidia may see upside to fiscal Q2 results. So that's what my thought process also. The Q2 results should be good and that should take Nvidia go up. But I was kind of concerned about the earnings. But looking at the earnings hit on other AI stocks, I was guessing that this time the earnings beat may not be as high as we saw last quarter. But we'll see what happens. So now some good news from barons.com that says Nvidia and two more stocks to play a chip rebound. So I guess that's all about Nvidia news for today. I do not see anything different. Now let's take a look other AI stocks. So at this point on my watch list, Palantir made a highest negative change today, that is 2.10% down. But still, Palantir is trading much higher than it was trading few weeks back. Palantir, I guess, touched the all-time high in the last week. Amazon is slightly negative, that is 0.08% down. All the other AI stocks on my list are trading higher today. So highest positive change is in SMCI, that is 6.33%. And as I mentioned before, I expect some volatility in the market tomorrow because of the CPI and the PPI data. Let's take a look at some historical data regarding CPI. You see historical data regarding CPI and core CPI on your screen. So as you noted, last cycle the CPI came 3.0% versus the forecast 3.1%, and that was lower than the forecast. The last 5 cycle, some are down and some are higher than forecast. So it's kind of mixed signal, right? In this cycle, the forecast is 3.0. So let's see what the CPI data shows up on Wednesday. But I'm hoping that it should be either 3.0 or less than 3.0. The core CPI, the last cycle actual was 3.3% versus the forecast 3.4%. It came lower than the forecast. In the last 5 cycle, you see that some are lower than the forecast and some are higher than the forecast. So kind of mixed signal as well. This cycle, the forecast is 3.2%, the core CPI. I'm guessing the actual might come 3.2 or lower than 3.2. So on both CPI and the core CPI, I'm not expecting they would come higher than the forecast. And if you take a look at the chart, you see last few months we haven't seen much progress on the CPI versus we have seen in 2023 and some part in 2022. So if CPI goes further down in this month and next month, that would make a good case for Fed to start cutting the rates. So I guess that's all about NVIDIA analysis and assessment for today and rest of the week. In my understanding, tomorrow there might be some volatility, but day after tomorrow, I'm expecting CPI won't come higher than the forecast, and probably day after tomorrow, we might see another good upside on Nvidia and other AI stocks. So that's all for now. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you more tomorrow. Take care.